In 1913, Britain stood atop the world, a beacon of industrial and financial prowess. It was the workshop of the globe, the financial nerve center, where fortunes were made and lost, and ruler of the largest empire in human history, spanning continents and cultures. Its navy dominated the seas, ensuring British interests were protected worldwide. Its currency, the pound sterling, was the lifeblood of international trade, a symbol of stability and trust. Yet a century later, this colossus had crumbled, its former glory a distant memory. World Wars I and II drained Britain's coffers and shattered its industrial dominance, leaving scars that would never fully heal. The rise of new powers, particularly the United States, further diminished its global standing, shifting the balance of power. The UK's decline is also a tale of self-inflicted wounds, of short-sighted policies that failed to foresee the future, and a failure to adapt to a changing world, clinging to past glories. Despite its economic might, British industry was becoming increasingly uncompetitive, unable to keep pace with global advancements. It clung to outdated methods, resisting innovation and change, failing to embrace new technologies and management practices that were revolutionizing industries elsewhere. The story of the UK's decline is not just one of economic indicators and policy decisions. It's a human story filled with personal struggles and societal shifts, a tale of communities devastated by deindustrialization, where once thriving towns fell into decay, of families struggling to make ends meet, facing an uncertain future in a rapidly changing world. World War I, though ultimately victorious for Britain and its allies, came at a heavy price. The war left deep scars on the nation, both physically and economically. The country emerged from the conflict deeply in debt, its industrial base battered, and its global standing diminished. The financial burden was immense, and the road to recovery seemed long and arduous. The 1920s, often remembered as the Roaring Twenties, were anything but roaring for Britain. While other nations experienced economic booms, Britain struggled to regain its footing. The country faced high unemployment, stagnant growth, and labor unrest. Strikes and protests became common as workers demanded better conditions and wages. One of the most damaging decisions of this era was the government's decision to return to the gold standard in 1925 at the pre-war exchange rate. This move was intended to stabilize the economy, but had the opposite effect. The pound was now overvalued, making British exports more expensive and imports cheaper. This imbalance hurt British manufacturers and traders significantly. The result was a further blow to British industry and a deepening of the economic malaise. Factories closed, and many workers found themselves without jobs. The 1930s brought the Great Depression, a global economic crisis that hit Britain particularly hard. The economic downturn led to widespread poverty and suffering. The government's response, a policy of austerity and retrenchment, only served to worsen the situation. Instead of stimulating growth, these measures deepened the economic woes, prolonging the nation's hardship. World War II left Britain victorious but exhausted. Its economy was in ruins, its cities scarred by bombing, and its global influence greatly diminished. The post-war years were a time of profound change for Britain. The country embarked on an ambitious program of social reform, creating the welfare state and expanding access to education and healthcare. Despite receiving substantial aid from the United States under the Marshall Plan, Britain struggled to regain its economic footing. Its industrial base, slow to modernize before the war, now faced stiff competition from Germany and Japan. The 1960s saw Britain fall further behind its European neighbors. The 1970s was a decade of crisis for Britain. The oil shocks of 1973 and 1979 sent inflation soaring, while a combination of low productivity growth and militant trade unionism led to stagflation. In 1976, Britain was forced to apply for a bailout from the International Monetary Fund. The IMF loan, with its stringent conditions, was a national humiliation and a stark symbol of how far Britain had fallen. There was one bright spot amidst the gloom: the discovery of North Sea oil. By the end of the 1970s, Britain was a nation at a crossroads. Section 5, The Iron Lady and Her Legacy, Thatcherism and its Aftermath, 1980s. Margaret Thatcher's election in 1979 marked a watershed moment in British history. Thatcherism, as her ideology came to be known, was a potent cocktail of monetarism, privatization, and deregulation. She tackled inflation head-on, curbing the power of the trade unions and embarking on a massive program of privatization. Thatcher's policies were undoubtedly successful in some respects. Inflation was tamed, the economy began to grow again, and Britain regained some of its lost confidence. However, her reforms came at a heavy social cost. The decline of traditional manufacturing industries accelerated under Thatcher, devastating communities in the industrial heartlands. Her legacy remains deeply contested to this day. Section 6. Castles of Sand, Financialization and the Credit Crunch, 1990s to 2000s. The 1990s and 2000s saw Britain seemingly turn the corner. Under the stewardship of first John Major's Conservative government and then Tony Blair's New Labour, the country enjoyed a prolonged period of economic growth and relative stability. One of the key features of this period was the increasing financialization of the British economy. The deregulation of the financial sector, begun under Thatcher, continued apace, with London cementing its position as a global financial hub. The financial sector's dominance led to a neglect of manufacturing and other productive sectors. The chickens came home to roost in 2008 with the global financial crisis. Section 7. The Austerity Trap, Stagnation in the 2010s. The 2008 financial crisis plunged Britain into its deepest recession since the 1930s. The Labour government responded with a combination of bank bailouts and fiscal stimulus. In 2010, a Conservative Liberal Democrat coalition government came to power, promising to restore Britain's finances through a programme of austerity. Austerity involved deep cuts to public spending, tax increases, and a shrinking of the state. The 2010s was a decade of lost opportunities for Britain. The economy stagnated, productivity growth remained anemic, and wages stagnated for many. The political landscape also underwent a period of profound upheaval during this decade. Section 8. A Leap into the Unknown, Brexit and Beyond, from 2016 to the present. This period marks a significant chapter in modern British history, filled with uncertainty and transformation. In 2016, Britain voted to leave the European Union, a decision that shocked many both at home and abroad. The referendum results revealed a nation deeply divided on its future direction. The immediate economic impact of Brexit was a sharp fall in the value of the pound, increased uncertainty for businesses, and a slowdown in investment. Financial markets reacted with volatility, reflecting the widespread concern. The UK's departure from the EU's single market and customs union has created new trade barriers and bureaucratic hurdles for businesses. These changes have disrupted supply chains and affected everyday consumers. The long-term economic consequences of Brexit remain uncertain. Economists continue to debate the potential outcomes, with projections varying widely. Brexit has also had a profound impact on Britain's political landscape, deepening divisions within society. The debates and discussions have highlighted the contrasting visions for the country's future. The challenge for Britain now is to heal these divisions and chart a course towards a more prosperous future outside the EU. Efforts are underway to rebuild and unify the nation, fostering a sense of common purpose. Section 9. The Human Cost of Decline. The true cost of the UK's economic decline is best measured in human terms. It's the story of communities hollowed out by deindustrialization, of families struggling to make ends meet. The decline of manufacturing has had a devastating impact on many communities. The loss of these industries has ripped apart the social fabric of these communities. The decline of the UK's economy has also led to a widening gap between rich and poor. Section 10. What went wrong? The UK's century-long economic decline is a complex story with no easy answers. A multitude of factors have contributed to this decline, including global economic shifts, policy missteps, and structural weaknesses in the British economy. One key factor has been the UK's failure to adapt to the changing nature of the global economy. Its manufacturing sector, slow to modernize and innovate, has lost ground to competitors in Asia and elsewhere. Another contributing factor has been a series of policy missteps. Structural weaknesses in the British economy have also played a role. Addressing these deep-seated problems will require a long-term, strategic approach. Section 11. Can the UK rise again? The UK's economic future remains uncertain. The country faces a number of challenges, including the ongoing fallout from Brexit, the COVID-19 pandemic, the climate crisis, and the need to adapt to a rapidly changing global economy. However, the UK also possesses significant strengths, including its world-class universities, its dynamic financial sector, its creative industries, and its strong institutions. One key priority must be to address the UK's long-standing productivity problem. Another priority must be to rebalance the UK economy, both geographically and sectorally. It will also require addressing the UK's housing crisis. Building a more cohesive and inclusive society will be crucial to unlocking the UK's potential and creating a more prosperous future for all.
So hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and let's turn the page on a new adventure together. Get ready to experience books like never before, only on VBook 360. Like, comment, and share to support the channel and keep the video magic alive. Thank you for stopping by. And remember, every video has a story, and every story deserves to be shared. See you in the next video.